we do reviews. It's Keep It 99 Reviews. We are talking about Mobland, episode 4, Rat Trap. Keep It 99 reactions, reviews, breakdowns, recaps for your favorite series. And the first thing I want to talk about is Maeve. I called it last week. I told y'all, Maeve is the villain. In this episode, she did a lot of villainous things. She planned for Eddie to get rid of Tommy. She planned it all. Not only that, she is trying to get Conrad to betray Harry after he already betrayed Archie. And we saw in the episode, she don't really like Harry. Of course, Harry does so much. But Eddie, you are the man. You are the one to lead us. Conrad has been in this beautiful place in a mansion. What is this? The Conrad estate. She's clearly playing something. Even telling Kevin that his wife Bella used to be the number one for Conrad, leading Conrad to introduce her to Kevin. Therefore, he loved her, leading to this entire situation, which gives us a reason why she never goes around the house. She never goes around the family. We're already seeing how Maeve feels. How would she feel about Bella? And I think that ultimately, I want to know y'all thoughts on this. I think it leads to Maeve versus Harry. It's going to be interesting because after watching this episode, I don't think Harry has a allegiance quite to the Harrigans as much, but he has an allegiance to Kevin that runs deep. Which leads us to my second point, and then we're going to get into the actual breakdown of this episode. Does Harry lose his family in this show? We've seen Joanne. We didn't see Gina this episode, but we saw Joanne, and a lot of development in Joanne's character through the therapy session, the friend, which turns out to be British police or Irish police, and how they're trying to get Conrad. So is she the snitch? Is she like hacking his phone? Because there is a snitch, as they found Archie bodies last week. But does Harry lose his family? And when I say that, we realize it's two families. And if he does, which one does he lose? Can he fix both situations? Because this episode with Conrad and Joanne, we have a lot that we could go over with that. I do want to go over this part too, because Joanne has a point with the family, which I think is magnificent and a great story. He has two families, as I stated before. She doesn't know which one he truly loves, even though she thinks it's the Harrigans. But I think in this situation, Joanne is mistreating Harry. She says she feels distant, but he tries to get closer in this episode. He tries to tell her, like, I do this and this is why we have to do this. I want you to understand me because that's the reason I can't do these things. I don't want to hear about your work. Okay, this is what my work is what makes my life a little more difficult for you. It also gives us a decent life, but it makes life difficult. I want to apologize for it. He also tells her the reason I can't go to therapy is because my work will find out. And that will lead to issues because if he thinks this, he will be obsessed with this. And if he's obsessed with something and he feels like I'm not 100% in, he'll try to take care of it. And it all leads to her Joanne telling him that Conrad met them. Conrad saw them. Conrad came to her and literally told her, I need Harry on point, and you're not going to break up with him or mess with his mind because we both love Harry. Harry kind of knew when he came up to her and realized that she was lying to him, that everything was good because he knows her, which also gives the situation between the two interests, right? It adds a lot of drama and detail to it, to my theory that who will Harry choose, which I want to know in the comments. Who do y'all think Harry would choose? Do you think he'll choose Joanne and Gina or Kevin and Conrad? I think that's the most important thing. Even the therapist asked, "What do you think about Kevin? Is he a threat to you? Do you feel like are you just in a relationship?" And it's gonna come to the climax of the show because Maeve is setting something up. She told him where the body was. She's trying to get Conrad against Archie. There's a lot going on, but we'll discuss all that when it comes up. That is my biggest talking point. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Do you think Maeve is the traitor now? Is she telling the police to get rid of Conrad? Or is she just trying to make Eddie stronger? Do you think that Harry will choose the Conrads over his wife? Or does he choose his wife? The episode set this whole thing up where Harry's going to have to make a decision. It's a lot of moving pieces with Bella, with Maria, Conrad, what Conrad is planning with Joanne, what Bella and her dad is coming up with. It might lead to problems in the future. The Kevin situation, his best friend, who he probably will fight for. Maeve and her plotting. It's a lot to this episode. I want to know what y'all thoughts, how y'all feel about it. What do you think is going to happen? Now let's get into the show. We open up this episode with Harry snatching them. Torn is getting snatched up as he has Bella's little hard drives that basically gives up information on her father, and she needs that back. So Harry goes and gets the back. He knows he has a copy. He gets offered a lot of money, 40,000. But Harry's a loyal guy. Harry said, "Keep your money. It's more about setting advantages and situations up rather than bribes." He grabs the man by the balls too, by the way. It is crazy. We find out a little bit more about Harry and the family dynamic, which I find interesting. We see Conrad and Maeve meet up and say that the police have found Archie's body. Maeve doesn't seem surprised. I was right that she set a lot of things up, but she did not seem surprised at this at all. Well, what do you think happened? We see a situation where Harry tells Joanne everything. Apparently, Eddie did stab him 60 times. And Richie is upset. He was telling all of that. And Joanne, like I said, dismisses. That's one thing I did not want to know what you do for work. But that's like his life. That's like not knowing a part of a person. Even though I get it, it's scary. But you know it, but you don't know it. This is why I think it's hard for me to just side with her completely. Because again, he does this work, but you don't want to know. And it was like an agreement. It was like a legit agreement to never talk about it. Like they had this agreement about she's scared of swimming, and I forgot what the other one was. And I don't want to know what you do for work. We had the weird guy asking Conrad, how does he know? It's a funny scene. Conrad, he has Archie's hands, his legs, his DNA. He found where we put him. What are you asking? How do we know it's Archie? We put him there. We know his hands, his feet, his body, the DNA. They have everything. Why are you asking me this? Hilarious scene, by the way. And to go back to the scene with Joanne and Harry, she asked what he do to get Maria in the room. And he cleverly says, "That's my job," which I love. I love that scene because it's like a play on you're trying to ask when it's convenient for you, but when it's not, you don't care. Away from you as well. And I feel like it's an interesting dynamic. I think they're gonna come together. He gonna pick Joanne and Gina at the end of the day, which is gonna make a great season finale. Maeve is talking about how would they know, and Conrad says only Harry and I know where they put him. Harry's the betrayer. How do we know Harry's not the betrayer? One thing I've noticed is Conrad has unwavering faith in Harry. Then we see a scene with Kevin and Harris talking to him about life and who is Ragsby. Ragsby is the guy we met in the home, who we found out later was abusing Kevin. And Maeve calls and said, "Hey, tell Harry Maeve says hi," which gives Harry a hint that she's probably playing some kind of game. Do y'all think that Harry knows that Maeve is playing a game with him? Because it seemed like he knew. He made that weird face. So I think he knows it's a game being played, but he's not quite sure. And he doesn't act on his own. As we heard from Bella, you work for the Harrigans, you don't do stuff on your own, which I think is frustrating Harry too. We find out that someone is looking for Harry. He knew his associate's name and everything. And he says, tell Harry that Dunny is looking for him. She takes a picture of said Dunny and calls Harry. And literally, Harry said he doesn't know who he is. He does not know this man. Maybe Dunny knows more than we let on. Maybe Dunny can give Harry a little help. I don't think Harry's gonna work with the police, but I'm interested who this Dunny guy is. I wonder how he's gonna get out of a lot of these situations because it seems like he's being set up from a war that he doesn't want to happen. Then we have the deep conversation between Kevin and Harry when he tells Harry about Bella being his father's number one girl he smashes, and that Maeve found out, and that's the whole reason he introduced her to her. But Maeve never acted on Bella, which is interesting. He never disses Bella either. Which also leads to who is Bella's father. They seem to not want problems. And we found out how dangerous Conrad is. Who is Bella's dad? Conrad does to save issue. You go with my son instead of me. That's gonna be the most consistent thing we have throughout this show for me. Who is Bella's dad and why is she so dangerous? We have a scene with Joanna, who works for the Popo, and they are asking a simple question. Have you ever asked him why it's so difficult to tell the truth? He just tried to tell you the truth and you say you didn't want to listen. He literally just said the truth to you and you don't want to listen to it. What more can he do to tell you the truth? He goes in every situation and tells you this is what's happening. Harry, it frustrated me at the time, but it made so much more sense when you find out she's working against them and trying to get Harry on their side because he's the informant, he's the fixer, he knows all the secrets. If they can get him, they can take down all these families' property. Then we see Conrad. Yes, my boy Conrad showed up to Harry's place. Because, of course, Joanne went back home because she's hard headed. And Conrad comes and tells her, we need Harry on point. You love Harry. Me and you have something in common. We love Harry. We love my boy. And you won't never hurt him, will you? Because we need him. He's important to us. Which had me thinking at a point that Joanne Friend might think she's cheating with Conrad. But it turns out that's not true, as we found out later again. And of course, we learned that he is worried about Harry betraying them with Joanne because he tells Joanne not to tell Harry. Of course, she's going to tell him because Harry knows her in and out. We can see through the show. He knows when to hit certain points and when not to. If he gets drunk, like he did in the first episode, and his daughter has to tell him stuff, then he seems not to be aware. I don't want to give him too much credit, but he does seem not aware in those situations. We come to the scene where Richie tells Harry to meet him at the Monkey. Then we see the scene where Eddie and Maeve get together and they sit there and go over their plan to take care of the Stevensons and get Tommy. Let Harry fix things, have Harry be a fixer, set up things where they can get to where they want to go. Of course, as we know, Plan B was in full effect. Is she thinks the Stevensons are in the way, making too much money, so she wants to get rid of him. And Eddie is strong. Eddie is wise. He's going to lead once he learns how to do the situations. Grandmother will teach you. My boy is screwed. Eddie got the most flags I've ever seen. That man is like everywhere reading. Maeve is going to have him out of here. I don't even know if Maeve is going season 1, but Eddie is gone in season 1. And he even asked, is it a mistake in what we did? This Nepo baby can't understand that he messed up. It's your fault. But Maeve says it's all part of the plan. She gives him food and drugs and has him rock out and be a dummy. And he actually did it. Like throughout this episode, I was wondering, did he actually get set up? He did get set up. It was both. He actually got set up. Maeve set him up to do this. And he did it. So he was set up. I was right. I was wondering if it wasn't just that situation. No, it's all of it. Then we have the scene with Joanne's friend. She meets with the police. They try to convince her, can you get closer to him? She's like, listen, I'm not trying to do nothing too dangerous because that man is very dangerous. And I'm not trying to go away for a long time. And you saw her even telling me, like, "I wouldn't ask you to do something I wouldn't do." You took my which lead me to believe is she trying to get in that relationship? Is she trying to be that number one side piece and get more information from him? The whole time she was flirting with him, because I thought it was Joanne and her. She thought Joanne was going to cheat, but when you find out she the popo, you start noticing that you go back and you watch the flirt. It looks a little different. Harry comes back and he's talking to Joanne, and he notices that she is not being truthful. She's worried about something, and she tells him about Conrad. Harry, of course, says, "You know what you have done. This man is worse than the Taliban. Is he the Taliban or something? Like, when he gets focused on something, he will be worse than the Taliban. You'll wish it was the Taliban." He's right. Because when you think about it, you're thinking, why would he pick Conrad's side? But he didn't pick Conrad's side. He's talking about the fact that she told someone else that he heard this. That means she had to be speaking to somebody on the outside to tell that they had family problems, because Harry know he didn't tell no one. And if Harry would have told Conrad, it wouldn't been in that type of situation. Conrad would have known that he went to him. He knew instantly, you've been talking to somebody. I haven't told Kevin, so it had to be somebody you was talking to. So now you're in trouble. You messed up. Which I know some people might have missed that point, but that's the whole point of the thing. That's why he said you messed up. He took Conrad's side, but he didn't. He was like, we have to figure this out now, because he's a fixer. So now he has to fix this situation. We get to the scene where he meets Bella's saying the deal is not done. She just wanted the advantage. Harry, this is not a good idea. He tried to take the phone. She said, know your place. Harry's getting frustrated with his family. You work for the Harrigans, therefore you work for me. And he like, really don't work for you. I'm only here mostly for Kevin, somewhat for Conrad. I don't even like the rest of y'all. I don't know if he liked the rest of them because he doesn't really interact with the rest of them. I know he loves Kevin. That's a fact. I'm unsure about his feeling about Conrad. Bella then is on the phone with Antoine, trying to make the deal. Kevin comes upstairs and is disturbed. I think he's so hurt about situation. Do y'all think he thinks Harry is trying to sleep with Bella? Bella says, you sent him to protect me. I didn't send him. And he had a little untrusting look on his face that Harry been around her and he hasn't. Which leads to the scene where he's in the car and he sees Ragsby touching him in a sad way. And we saw earlier when Harry brought it up, do you remember him? And Kevin, he's having an emotional trauma. She was his father's and he gave her to him. So it's a whole lot of inner turmoil that he's dealing with, but I don't think he's going to ever turn on Harry. He might have a hint. I think he'll end her before he end Harry. Harry been with him throughout the whole thing. So the problem is mostly going to be with her. We see Harry meets Richie, and Richie plays a game. Harry beat that man with whatever the little hammer was. He took care of his problem. He's like, we have a problem, you take care of it. And then he said, I'll clean it. Got a bathroom. Which leads to him calling Kevin, which this is the end of the episode. He calls Kevin and literally tells him he bought it under one condition. The Harrigans must be at Tommy's funeral. He insists. And that's how the episode ends. Amazing episode. It added so much plot to it. It wasn't as much action and drama. It was more excellent storytelling. From figuring out a little more about Bella and how she got in this position. Do you trust her now? Do y'all trust Bella? To Kevin and Harry's friendship and trauma with Kevin from his wife situation and Ragsby, to, oh my God, what is going to happen with Joanne and Harry's relationship? By the way, I do want to say this. Harry, as a person who fixes things, is probably one of the best at trying to maintain his family life in a relationship. Because it's almost impossible. Every other movie, every other show is impossible. But this man literally fights for Joanne. To Maeve trying to set plays, we find out the whole thing in this situation. And Conrad seems to start setting plays too. but we don't know a lot about Conrad. He's the most intriguing character. We get development from Conrad, but it's like hidden in little clues. Each episode, you learn a little bit more. Let me know what you thought about this episode. And subscribe, hit that notification bell. We have a bunch of shows. We have Happy Face also coming out on today, Sunday. We have Power come out. We have other shows. We have movies. We just did Sinners. A review just came out for that. A bunch of stuff coming. Hopefully, a lot more coming soon. Hit that like and subscribe if you enjoy the channel. Peace.